And we are officially live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome back to the Velvet Riot, your Eve Pro Wrestling or Eve Girls of Battle Riot Wrestling post show here at BC WrestlePod. My name is Mikey. I am Ellen. And joining me tonight is my partner in crime, the one that introduced me to Eve thanks to Wrestle Queendom. And we're both discovering more things we love about this women's indie promotion out of the UK. Mr. Benny Bear is here. Hi, Betty. I'm happy to have you here tonight.
Greetings and salutations. Let's talk about some some pro wrestling Eve. Let's do it, huh?
Heck yeah. So we are going to be talking about and giving our thoughts on Eve 149, aptly titled Resist and Riot. So this was a nice little show to watch. This was 5 matches, and we're gonna talk about them. And honestly, this is a really fun prelude to what is going to be coming to us here shortly in June with Eve 150. Because good God Almighty, they announced we have a total of 4 matches so far for Eve 150, which we'll talk about at the end of the show. And it is stuff. But we're going to be here to talk about Eve 149. So y'all already know the drill. We're live pretty much almost every day of the week at this point. BC WrestlePod is our social media. We have merch at our store, bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. And last but certainly not least, if you want to donate to our coffee bot, which helps us pay for pay-per-views, especially with the summer slowly getting packed up with different things, please feel free to donate, but not necessarily because you being here is enough. Alrighty, let's get into this. So originally, I had some slides prepared. I was like, cool, I got all the social media stuff. I pulled like match cards and everything. And I was telling Benny this off camera, but we're just going to use the thumbnail of the YouTube video from Eve's YouTube channel itself, because by the time we got to the end of this show, we were playing Where's Waldo, where we were there was a lot of moving parts around. We had lots of different people move around. We had different matchups than originally scheduled, but I'm not going to complain because I had a great time with all of it. So let's just get into this, shall we? One match that didn't change, and I'm very thankful for it, and because it was really, really fun. Our first matchup of the evening of Eve 149 saw Miss Lucy Sky taking on one of my new personal faves out there in the Eve verse, if you will, Miss Alice. Good God, I love me some Alice Inc. I love her so much, and honestly, I'm really digging Lucy too. This was a really fun power-based wrestler in Lucy Sky, taking on your like more traditional striker type of wrestler we see a little bit, especially out here in the UK, and Miss Alice Inc. Good God, these two girls just beating the piss out of each other, as the kids say. Good. I love this. This was a really fun match for me. Again, you get Lucy Sky, who is not the only power-based wrestler we were going to see this evening, but she was a lot of fun, and Alice Inc. just being brutal. And also, coming off of the fact that she just had a match with Miyu Yamashita at Eve 148 coming into this one. So I'm just like, well, damn, Alice, you got a lot going in here. So let's see how we recovering. But I enjoyed this one. Benny, what did you think of our opening contest of Lucy Sky versus Alice Inc?
Well, Lucy Sky was out when I first started watching Eve. So I believe this might have been like the first or second time I've seen her, not just like walking around. And boy, she is a bully. And I like it. Like she's just a bulldozer, right? And Alice Inc. is really, really different. I really, really like her. It was like a rebound tail whip type kick that Alice Inc. hit, and it was spot on. And there was like a corkscrew top ball that Alice Inc. hit. Like, man, she's just so different. Like in every way possible. And I love that because styles make fight. And there was one time where like Alice had missed a moonsault, and then like Lucy Sky like hit her with a running knee, and like I could have sworn she was dead. But it was just a 2 count, and then Alice hits the tornado kick for the win. And man, I could see these two fight over and over again.
I 100% agree with you. I think, like you said, there's something really special about Alice Inc., and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from her in Eve, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. But yeah, Lucy Sky is absolutely a bully, and I'm probably gonna take that phrase and apply it to another person we're gonna talk about a little bit later in the show. But despite Lucy Sky and her being an absolute bully, if you will, Alice Inc. manages to pull out the victory here. And Alice Inc. is having some really good stuff. She may have come up short against Miyu Yamashita, Eve 148, but she balanced it out with teaming with Session Ma to win the tag team match at the last event. And now her momentum is continuing forward. So we shall see what lies in store for Miss Alice Inc. And also what lies in store from Lucy Sky, because all these girls are intertwined together in the overall big picture. And I cannot wait to see more. Alrighty. So next up, we have most of the time this is not a thing that I am used to seeing, but we have an open challenge match, but in the form of a tag team open challenge. And this time we see Night Sky, who of course is our lovely tag team made of Sky Smithson and Violet Knight. And they have an open challenge for any tag team to come out and face them. So first, commentary makes sure to tell us this during the match, and we learn about this a little bit later. Night Sky's challenge is answered by at least an Eve related, a debuting Alexis Lee, who I really loved the makeup. I thought it was great. I was like, yes, give me Soo Young vibes. Loved it. But then the most important thing to come out, this was a tag team match, and Alexis Lee could not do this alone. Oh, no, no. So who should come out and join her as her tag team partner but Miss Abby Cartwright, who just needs a job, y'all. And so former assistant Abby, we love Abby here in Eve. And so she joins Alexis Lee as her tag team partner. And the match went the way that I thought it was going to. Abby and Alexis, bless their little hearts, they tried their best, but I'm like, Night Sky, this was a really good back and forth. I want to say that it wasn't like it was a squash match. This is a fun back and forth, but obviously you could tell that Night Sky definitely had the advantage going in because they are a tag team and their chemistry is there. And this is the first time, at least in the Eve verse, that Abby and Alexis Lee were teaming up together. So I thought this was a really fun one. It definitely showcased Alexis Lee a little bit. Of course, Abby makes a good foil and being like the funny face that we want to root for, especially since we're kind of maybe possibly billing her as an underdog in some capacity. And again, Night Sky just dominates and bullies these poor girls in this match. And also, Night Sky still has some beef because they still want the challenge for the tag team championship. So who knows where that's going to go. But anyways, Betty, what did you think of our Night Sky Open Challenge match? And what did you think?
First off, I love Assistant Abby. It's probably like one of my favorite underdog acts in Eve, and she's just great. She just nails everything, right? Nice guy. I really like that they sort of like give him a few minutes before the like in the ring before the next person's music hits, just so they can just be a bunch of bad girls and just get the crowd all riled up. I love that. Alexis Friggin Lee. I'd seen her a couple times across WrestleMania weekend, and she's really good. She's really green, but like she's really, really good. A nice guy had a really cool finishing move. And I'm a sucker for a good tag finisher. There's like a claymore with a sort of like the chasing the dragon, the way Red Dragon used to do. Right, but with a claymore instead, with the leg sweep. I really like that. Oh, and I forgot to say, congratulations to Nina.
We love you, Nina. I love Nina.
I love Nina and Dan were really great on this show together, sort of like bickering back and forth. And Nina at one point was like, "It's your fault, Dan, that they're so angry." He's like, "What? They didn't win. What to do? They got to rack up wins."
For reals. So
Uh,
so good. Oh my goodness. Commentary was so much fun during this one. I was just like, yes, this is the energy that I need. Oh my goodness. But Night Sky, if it wasn't already apparent from us talking about it, they do beat Abby and Alexis Lee. And like I said before, Night Sky still has business with the tag champions. So who knows where that's going to lead into the future. Though, girls, you got caught cheating. So I will say at this point in the show, I was very unclear. I was like, okay, where are we going with the tag team championships? Because either at this point in the show, I'm like, Lolly's either going to retain or we're going to get new tag champs. And so is Night Sky still waiting in the rings? Like, what's up? We get an answer to that question at the very end of the show, which I'm like, oh, anyways, let's keep this going. Moving into our third match. So again, we had to move some people around due to certain people not being able to be a part of the show due to medical not being cleared and stuff like that. But we get into our third match of the evening, which sees Corey Zero of French Art, which is a very fun tag team to say here for me now here at Eve. I love saying French Art because it just rolls off the tongue. And she was taking on someone I'm still getting new to, like used to in terms of like being new to me, but I love her energy. Corey Zero taking on Miss Melissa Fierce. Melissa is just a ball of energy, and I love her so much. She is so much fun. This match was so much fun. Corey Zero's moonsault is probably like, oh my god, it's so good fun to watch. Like, I love that as part of her finisher. Melissa Fierce is no slouch either. She gave it to Corey with good back and forth here. This was just a good showcase of some really great and talented people here in Eve, is what I'm going to say with it. I really did enjoy this. This was so much fun, and I love that they got time for this one. Benny, what did you think of, despite the change, how did we feel about Corey Zero versus Melissa Fierce?
I really liked this one. It was a nice little back and forth. Corey Zero, even though she's super cool, hell of a badass bad girl, right? I don't want to say heel. So Melissa Fierce, I really like. I've only seen her a few times. Fire has been the name, but really great fiery baby face. And the Escalera, right? Like from Corey Zero, like I really like that one. Like a cool little twist on it. And the rope walk moonsault that she does is like I'm like skipping around, but like there really wasn't. This one sort of didn't get out of first gear because much like the other one, the next one, I felt like this match, like it was to build a Corey Zero, you know.
Right.
So and it did its job.
I also think too, because again, so kind of a little bit of some not spoiler, but originally when the matches were being announced for Eve 149, initially it was going to be Corey Zero versus Emerson Jane, and so that was originally going to be scheduled, and then Melissa Fierce was going to face Molly Spartan. Now we still got Corey, we still got Melissa, we still got Molly, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit in our semi main event. But Emerson Jane, it seems that she wasn't medically cleared to wrestle for Eve 149, and it continued on into Progress Chapter 194, Super Strong Style 16, which tune in later tonight to hear my thoughts on the 2-day event so I could talk about it, which is a lot of fun. But I feel that not getting out of first gear, Benny, kind of also like not having the original opponent scheduled also probably played a minor part in it. I still thought this was a solid match, but I do agree with you. And we really not got out of first gear with this one. And I feel like the next match, which we'll get into right now, was kind of the same tune with Molly Spartan versus a newly debuting Leah Raven. So I love Molly's look, first of all. I think she looks so good. I love her look, like the blown out hair, the leather jacket. Again, I try not to compare because every wrestler's their own, but she's giving me like Piper Niven vibes. And I'm so here for that kind of wrestler, Molly Spartan. This match against Molly and Leah, I feel like also didn't get out of first gear, but I also wonder if that's because Molly's original opponent was supposed to be Melissa Fierce, and so who knows what they had, like, in store for that match. But I think it did its job. I think it showed off Leia Raven as, coming into Eve for her Eve debut, which was fun, but it also made Molly Spartan look like an absolute badass, and I love seeing that. Benny, how do we feel about Molly and Leah?
Yeah, this one was basically a squash match. Leah, I agree that she did look good in defeat, but this was all Molly Spartan, and I agree. Molly has a great look, and she has an intensity about her that a lot of women in Eve have, but like she has something special. There was like a powerbomb senton in this match that I was like, oh, that was gross. But this one was just a mauling. It really was. It was just a mauling.
Yeah, this was definitely to show me like Molly Spartan will beat you up, and I'm here for it. So, to no one's surprise, she ends up beating Leia Raven here, but Molly's dominance is a showcase. I love it, and I'm interested. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. All right, Betty. So we've had a fun time so far, but let's get into this and main event time. And do I even have to say it? I think we both can agree. Definitely match of the night for this one. Good God, this tag team championship match ruled. So for the Eve Tag Team Championships, we have the challengers even Miss Rio, the baddest bitch in the game, and Miss Alexis Falcon, also the baddest bitch in the game. These two work so well as heels or just like complete badasses, I will say. Like, they're both so good at what they do. And they are taking on our lovable challenge, our champions in Lolly, which is Holly Barlow and Lana Austin. When the moment that bell hit, man, it was all in. The story here is that Rio and Alexis were trying to keep Lana out of the ring as much as possible because they saw her more as the threat than Holly. And so the first act of this match had Holly getting the absolute piss beat out of her by Rio and Alexis Malkin. Then we get to act two, in which the comeback starts happening. Lana is able to get in and she's able to clean house and do some damage. And then we get some back and forth action. And then we finally hit the crescendo of Act Three, in which Lana Austin gets quote unquote taken out. She's not doing too hot. And so Alexis and Rio think they can win this by, taking on and isolating and continuing to beat up Holly Barlow. But Holly activates her superpower of never give up and she dominates and she fights back and she goes at it. And I kind of figured that Lolly was going to retain. I was hoping they were going to retain, but this was such a good way because Holly wins for her team by pinning Rio in this match. And I'm like, oh my God, Rio rarely across any matches that I've seen her in, she rarely loses the match, let alone look at the lights in losing the match. Like, this was such a big move and such a big boost for Holly and her quote unquote stock, if you will. My God, this is such a good tag team match. I think this is a really fun story all through and through. And Lolly retains. And we're going to get into the announcement that they made at the end of the show before the show went off the air. But Benny, I got to ask you this question. Lolly versus Rio and Alexis Balkan. What did you think of this tag team championship match?
This was amazing. Well, this was clearly to build up Lally as a legitimate tag team. Not that they aren't, anyways, but getting a win over Rio is a great way of doing that. I thought Lana Austin every time that she got in was pretty great. Like she really lives up to that last name, doesn't she? Like I think she hit like
God, it was so much fun.
yeah, like, there was 2 rep pulls and a rep bump, like, which I thought was really neat. So that was, like, the way that they kept building to that hot tag, which I thought was really fun. There was, like, one time where, like, Alexis Falcon was, like it didn't get caught on camera, but, like, I think Alexis was, like, reaching for a tag from Rio, and she went ass over tea kettle into the ring. Like, she, like, flipped over the top rope, and, like, everything just sort of stopped for a minute because the rep had to go check on her, like, but they used that moment to use that as a distraction because, like, the rep didn't see the tag. So, I love that spot, like, it was really different, and as you said, like, Holly Barlow getting the win over Rio after a diving elbow drop, man, that Holly is something special, man. She's such a plucky underdog. I really like the dynamic that Lally has, and I cannot wait for Lally versus French Art 2.
Oh my God. So, Lolly is celebrating, right? They're going around the ring, and then one of our good old commentary members gets on the microphone, congratulates them. And yeah, they just casually drop the fucking bombshell that we are getting a rematch with a team that took Lolly to their limits the last time they linked up. And at Eve 150, history makers, rule breakers, for the Eve Tag Team Championships, Lally will be defending their titles against French Arts. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I love French Arts so much, man. They're probably starting to become one of my favorite tag teams right now. That at least are
Seriously.
new to me. But
And
go ahead.
women's tag team wrestling is really starting to live in Eve. Like, from what I understand, the Eve tag team titles have not been around for very long, right?
Mhm.
Like, Eve has been around for 16 years. that this was their anniversary show. But I guess, like, the tag team titles have only been around for, like, a year or 2, and Lally has just been putting on performance after performance, and that Lally Blanchard first match, literally just it's on the short list of best tag matches of the year. Screw your gender roles. Best tag matches of the year.
100%, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Lally and French Art do, but Benny, we have 3 other matches besides our tag team championship match, so we have a total of 4 matches so far for Eve 150. As we found out at Eve 149, we learned that Miyu won the tournament, and she will be facing Stat Daddy herself, Chris Statlander, for the Eve International Championship. So that match is also gonna slap. But then we got 2 other matches announced. First and foremost, she's pointing fingers after what happened here at Eve 149, but her opponent is not hard to find. So Rio is going to be taking on Alice Inc. at Eve 150. So I'm like, good God, that is about to be a brutal bruiserweight slobber knocker, as the kids say. I'm like, good God, I'm here for it. But on top of that, Benny, we have another championship on the line, the Eve Championship. After everything that has gone on since Wrestle Queendom back in March, we are finally getting this encounter due to her winning the what is it that they called it at Wrestle Queendom? The sudden death 16 or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. So winning the sudden death 16 match, guaranteeing her a championship match. Session Moth is going to be defending her title against Alexis Balkan, and good God, that is also another match I am looking forward to. Just the whole card is looking great.
Yeah, I can't imagine the shenanigans that's gonna happen in that match, but I'm so here for pretty much every single one of those matches. Miyu Yamashita versus Chris Statlander is just like even on paper, it's like, wow, that's gonna rule. Like Lally versus Blanchard, I've already said everything I could. I cannot wait. Rio versus Alice Inc. Man, oh man, that might be a coming out moment for Alice Inc. And Alexis Falcon versus Session Moth Martina. Oh man, I'm sure that the old guard versus new guard thing that ended Wrestle Queendom. I would be surprised if that comes back into play.
Oh, 100%, and that's not to mention all the other girls that were part of that big ol' knockout brawl during the match at a Wrestle Kingdom between Session Moth and Rio. Like, all those girls are still lurking around, so I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen, but Eve 150 will be taking place June 5th, so that is next month, so unfortunately, the Velvet Riot crew will be waiting in anticipation for that, but we still got a lot of fun stuff coming up here for the month of May until then. Later on, in about an hour or so, I will be back to be talking about Progress Wrestling, specifically Chapter 194, Super Strong Style 16. So I will be talking about the 2-day tournament, talking about our winners to crown the 10th men's Super Strong Style 16 winner and our first ever women's Super Strong Style 16 tournament winner. This is the first year that the women got a Super Strong Style tournament, as well as the builds that we are building to our next event, which is Chapter 195, which I believe is Scorchio, which I could be wrong. No, it's Wonder Brawl. My apologies. Wonder Brawl is the next chapter for Progress, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'll be here later tonight talking about that. Tomorrow night is our TNA post show, which we'll be talking about some TNA stuff. Saturday, we got a watch along where we will be an absolute mess as we are, watching Backlash. And then that post show will be up on Monday. So listen, as much as it pains me, the engagement still is there. But also, I like hanging out with friends and we're gonna be a complete fucking mess and it's gonna be good. But I'm also happy to announce that we will be back to our regular scheduled AEW programming starting next Tuesday, which I'm like, yay, we get to talk about AEW. Well, damn, we got to talk about a 3-hour Wednesday show and a 1-hour Saturday show. So 4 hours of AEW television. God damn it.
It's always 4 hours.
I mean, that's fair, but let me tell you, after yesterday watching the full 3-hour show, I was just like, "Good God." I was just like, "We're almost creeping up to pay-per-view length for AEW." I was like though, then again, AEW pay-per-views 4 hours, but I was like, "We're almost there." But we'll be back at Tuesday to finally talk about it and we'll give our full thoughts on Tuesday. I'm still excited for Double or Nothing, but I find myself in a weird, like, where are we going with a lot of this? But hey, if you want to hear our full thoughts, you need to come by Tuesday and see me and Benny talk about it. It's going to be some good stuff. All right, I got to get up on out of here so I can at least get 15 minutes to myself before I come back and talk about some progress British wrestling, which is also a lot of fun. But from all of us here at BC Wrestle Pod to you at home, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you later for the next one, but until then, sayonara, and until next time, peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.